Hello and welcome to The Real World. My name's Cameron. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Real World YouTube channel. This channel is all about movies, so if you're a movie fanatic like we are, you're sure to get a lot out of it. I've got a huge physical media collection you can see behind me, so I do videos reviewing those. I do videos reviewing new movies that are in theaters and streaming and everything. So all your movie needs you can find right here. Be sure to give us a like, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the bell so you get notifications of all our videos here at The Real World. We've got playlists you can check out and all kinds of things. We're also on social media. You can find those links in the description below. And we're going to jump into this first episode of the new year, first episode of 2023. Now we're going to be discussing our top 5 most anticipated movies of 2023. So these are movies that have not come out yet, but we're looking forward to watching in theaters this year. So joining me on this endeavor is Bert again. How you doing, man?
Hey, Happy New Year. How's it going?
Yeah. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, happy to be back. It's been a while. We took quite a long break there for the holiday season, celebrating Christmas and traveling and doing all those things that we do with family and friends. So wanted to jump back in though here in January and look ahead at the year 2023 and what it's going to be like as far as the cinematic landscape coming up for this year. So let's jump in first though with some movie news. All right, so we're going to look at the movie news that dropped over the past few weeks since we've been out for a while. We wanted to discuss a couple things. Not a ton has dropped really, but we did want to discuss Avatar. This is the big movie that we were anticipating all year, looking forward to James Cameron's next big epic sci-fi adventure, the sequel that's like 15 years in the making. So it finally was released. We finally got to see it. Have you actually had a chance to watch this yet?
No, that I'll tell
Okay.
you what, that runtime is one of the biggest problems. And
Yeah.
like pretty much everybody that goes to movies with me, they're
Yeah.
not into like fantasy and stuff like that.
Right.
So like my wife said, I'll go with you, but she hasn't seen the first one. She probably
Okay.
wouldn't like it.
Right.
And so it's 3 hours of her kind of wishing she
Just
wasn't there, I guess.
right.
I mean, I'd
Right.
like to think she'd see it and be blown away, but
Sure.
I've shown her those kind of movies like Lord of the Rings. She just doesn't really,
Yeah.
not her kind of thing.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. That is something that I think, can hurt this movie is I've heard a couple of people say this now. They go to the movie theater with their family over the holidays and they're looking at what's playing and they want to see Avatar, but the rest of the family's like, it's 3.5 hours. I don't know if I want to sit through that. Let's go see the, animated hour and a half movie that's out right now. So
Exactly.
yeah, I've definitely heard that. But obviously, it hasn't hurt it that bad because it's already over $1
Yeah.
billion. It
Mhm.
went over $1 billion very quickly in just 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing. So, never doubt James Cameron. I think that's the lesson we've all learned here again. Even though he takes a long time sometimes to make these movies, it always pays off. So, this one is, doing very well. And there are 3 sequels on the way. So, 3 further films. He wants to make 5 total is what he said in interviews. And so they've actually already shot the 3rd movie. And it looks like they'll move ahead with the 4th and 5th one as well. So we'll just have to wait, not as long though, thankfully, for the,
Probably.
the
Yeah.
sequel. I think Avatar 3 is supposed to come in 2024. So
Okay.
we'll only have to wait a short amount of time for that one. Not sure when the sequels will be out after that, but looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the second one. My out of theater reaction is on the channel right now. You can watch that video.
Mhm.
It's definitely one of the best theater experiences I've had all year. It's one of those that I got to do the 3D IMAX version,
Nice. Yeah,
and
that's the
it was
best.
just so immersive and incredible. Just you feel like you're there on Pandora
Yeah.
with those characters, and just I like the story better. I like the action sequences better. I mean,
Oh,
just really
okay.
to me it upped the ante from the first one. I'm a fan of the first one, but this one I thought topped it. So very very well done. And so yeah, looking forward to what he does next.
Yes, I read something where he said he knows what he's going to be doing for the next 6 years now.
Right, exactly.
They
Yes.
made money. Okay, we're doing that for 6 years then.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool that I mean he's obviously very into it. He's built this world out in his head,
Mhm.
he's one of these guys like George Lucas or that create these worlds that they can live in for years and years, and just tell so many different types of stories, different types of
Right.
characters. And so
Right.
yeah, it's a rich world. They've already got the theme park at Disney, Animal Kingdom. They've got a
Oh.
whole Pandora experience you can go, and it
Oh.
is literally like you're walking around on the planet. It is.
Hmm.
I've been to it a couple times, and it's really incredible, especially at
Neat.
nighttime. The
Yeah. Yeah.
bioluminescent stuff, just like in the
Oh wow.
movie, happens,
Okay.
and it's pretty incredible. You can ride on the
Nice.
back of one of those banshees and go through the you
Yeah.
know mountains and all this. I mean, it's really incredible stuff.
Huh.
So yeah, that's a franchise that's gonna, I think, really have legs, and gonna just go on and on, kind of like Star Wars has. That's my prediction for it. So yeah, that's what's going on in the world of James Cameron. Let's jump over to DC. DC, as we know, is kind of in a difficult situation right now, a bit of a mess. Henry Cavill's back, with Black Adam, and then he's done. James Gunn comes in and kind of, has his own plan. And it supposedly is an 8 to 10 year plan, much like Marvel's, which some people see as a very good thing. And it could be. I mean, that's the thing with this right now. It's kind of sad for, you and I are both big fans of Zack Snyder and what he did with that DC universe. But, um, you know, while I think there's still hope that he actually could come back, even from a couple things that James Gunn himself has said, I obviously that's not the priority right now. The priority is to kind of reboot, it seems like, and start over with fresh faces and new stories. So that's my kind of question, though, is because a couple things he said. He said Henry Cavill's out. We're doing a young Superman movie, about a younger Superman, new actor is going to come in. But then he says stuff like, people assume that means that, the Snyderverse is over, and, Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot are not coming back either. But he says, no, Gal Gadot, she's not been fired. I haven't, done anything. We haven't done anything with her. She's still on.
She's
So
young enough,
it's,
maybe, for one thing.
I don't know. It's just so confusing right now. I really don't understand what he's doing.
Mhm.
He mentioned Ben Affleck may come in and direct one of these DC movies that he's making. So that would be great. I mean, he was supposed to direct a Batman movie. That was the plan that was in place, before, the debacle with Justice League happened, and all that. And he's also supposed to come back in the Aquaman sequel, which is supposed to come out later this year. So just very confusing times for DC fans. I really don't know what's going on. I'm hopeful that with James Gunn, he's a huge comic book guy. He's a huge fan of Marvel Comics. Obviously, he's done the Guardians of the Galaxy films. He just did the Suicide Squad movie for DC. And so he really knows the comics. He knows these characters. He's into the kind of obscure characters that I think we probably would never have gotten without a guy like him in charge, which is what makes me as a comic book fan excited.
Mhm.
He's mentioned characters like Lobo. Lobo is this alien bounty hunter, cigar
Mm.
chomping, like very crude and rude type character. That is a lot
Like
of fun in the
Wolverine.
comics. What's that?
Like Wolverine.
He's kind of Wolverine-ish. Yeah, he's a little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
like Wolverine. He reminds me a little of
Yeah.
Hellboy, if you're familiar with the
Oh
Hellboy
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
character.
Oh sure. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he could potentially get a movie.
Yeah.
He's kind of hinted at that. He's hinted at characters like Plastic Man, who's like this comedic kind of character. Jonah Hex, who actually did get a movie with Josh
Yeah,
Brolin,
I've
which
heard of
was
that.
not very good. I didn't care
Oh
for it, but
yeah.
he could get a new movie. Batmite. He's like this interdimensional, weird, magical character who's a big fan of Batman. So he dresses like
Okay.
Batman. Just weird, just these weird, obscure characters. There's one really cool one that I would like him to do called The Question. He
Oh.
is a detective, and his costume is, it's basically just a detective, like trench coat and fedora, but he has no face. He puts this mask
Oh.
on that makes it look like he does not have a face. And
Okay.
so he's a really interesting character who showed up in the Justice League animated series. Some fans might know. So I'm excited for those types of movies getting made. These different ones. There's also potential of Green Lantern finally coming back to the big screen or the small screen. They've actually been developing a HBO Max series for Green Lantern for a while.
Oh.
and so that may be folded into this new universe somehow. I'm not sure. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. How are you feeling about DC? Are you kind of similar to me, kind of disappointed but optimistic at the same time, or what are you feeling right now?
I feel like if Marvel never happened at all,
Right.
we would probably be looking at the DC movies and go, wow, they're pretty amazing. Like a couple of them weren't
Yeah.
the greatest, but this
Sure.
is the best. We, most amazing, superhero films.
Right.
But unfortunately, Marvel did happen, and
Yeah.
then as a result, everybody you have no choice but to compare and
Right.
say, well, how's DC doing in comparison?
Right.
And obviously, everybody knows it's a mess.
Yeah.
But the fact is, even Marvel didn't, I don't think, nail it. I
Yeah.
think that they were surprised by their own success.
Oh,
I
sure.
think if they could do it over, they probably would have reordered some things.
Right.
Black Widow probably would have had a movie back in 2003, for instance.
Right. Yep.
Captain Marvel would have been mentioned prior to 2018 or whatever it was.
Right. Right.
And so, but the fact is, the movies themselves, there's so many of them, and so many are good that it is the standard, and so DC just pales in comparison. And the new leadership, I mean, it would almost make more sense if he said, I'm sorry, fans, we're just done, we're starting over, and then you proceed and prove it, proof in the pudding.
Yes.
Give us 1, 2, 3, 4 movies that look like a good, like you actually plan these out.
Yes.
And I think you'd win the fans back. The problem
Yes.
is you keep dangling this carrot of, oh, but maybe Snyderverse. And
Right.
so they kind of shoot themselves in the foot,
Yeah.
And you're not making fans happy that way either. So
Right.
why? I mean, I want the Snyderverse, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think it's doing themselves a disservice, which is probably going to hurt DC long term.
Yeah. He has said one reason I am a little more optimistic is because he has said that he is going to announce the first slate of movies. I don't know how many it's going to be this month. So in January sometime, he is going to publicly announce, hey, here are the first few movies that we're going forward with, that we're going to start making. And that gives me hope. Now, what those movies are, I'm sure the Superman movie will probably be in there. I don't know. Are we going to get a new Batman, a new Wonder Woman, Green Lantern? I don't know. A new Justice League. I don't know what exactly he has planned. But once we get that announcement, we'll at least have some idea of what it's going to be like moving forward. And I think until that happens, we're just going to be kind of like, what's going on, dude? So
he could say we're rebooting and we're starting over, but you are going to get a Justice League 2, and Zack Snyder's going to do it, and same people from the first one. And it'd probably be a garbage film, but no,
I doubt it.
True.
I doubt it.
Zack Snyder would make it look great.
He's got a plan.
If he had a great story, I mean, it could all come together. They could at least do that, and I think people would be like, okay, that sounds good. Give us one more film, and then we're going to start seeing this new lineup.
Exactly.
That'd be what I recommend. They haven't called me yet, but that's my plan if they call.
I'm sure he's getting on the phone with you soon. That's all we want, really, right? As Snyder fans, we just want him to complete his story. He obviously had a story he was telling. It was going to be, he had 2 more movies planned. Maybe he could combine it into one more 4-hour movie like we had. Zack Snyder's Justice League was a big 4-hour epic. Maybe we could do one more of those and wrap it all up. I think that's all you need to do to satisfy the fans and get them on board and say, hey, he completed his story. Now we're starting a new story. And I think all the fans would be great with that, honestly.
Right.
So that's a win-win situation from my point of view. Obviously, that movie is going to cost a lot of money to make. But I think, again, if you don't do it, if you just say, no, we're throwing all that away, all these years of storytelling that we had built up, I think that's really going to be disappointing for a lot of fans, me included, and you obviously too. So
we'll
just have to wait.
Not just years of storytelling, but the end of Justice League, Zack Snyder's at least, gives us like glimpses of these scenes will be coming up next. And they look pretty like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I'm ready for it. Okay, let's go. So it'd be one thing if it just ended and we're like, well, who knows what would have been.
Right.
But they've literally shown us glimpses of what will be coming.
I agree. I think we just need closure. All us Snyder fans just need closure on this thing. And so we'll just have to wait and see later this month. Obviously, when all that gets announced, we'll do a whole podcast on it or a video on it or something and discuss it. So have to wait and see. We're going to dive into some trailers now that dropped recently. A couple of them just within this past week. There's 3 that I wanted to discuss. One of them is a movie called 65. This is a movie coming out, I think, in March, and it stars Adam Driver. as a astronaut in the future. He's in a spaceship floating around, and all of a sudden gets hit by an asteroid, crash lands on this planet, and he starts wandering around and realizes there's dinosaurs. So this is Earth 65, I guess, is referring to million years ago. So really interesting. I was enthralled by this trailer. I think this looks really exciting. Cool sci-fi action thriller. It's right up my alley. And Adam Driver's an actor that I just think is great. And everything I've seen him in, he's really, really good. And finally, you know, a new movie from him. And I don't think I know the director, but it just looks really cool. The visuals are great. It looks kind of scary, and it looks just like it's going to be a fun time at the movie. So what did you think about this one, Bert?
Yeah, I found it interesting that I mean, obviously it bared a lot of resemblance to a Jurassic Park film,
Right.
but more of almost more focusing on the action horror part of it as opposed to the story.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I mean, it's from a different angle. It's outside of that universe.
Yeah.
But I mean, anything with dinosaurs, you know, I'm probably down. So yeah,
Right.
definitely one I want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, man, Jurassic has kind of had dinos. They've been the only ones for a while. The only dinosaur movies you could find out there, but finally getting a new one. So that should be interesting. Again, that comes out sometime in March. So looking forward to that one.
Okay.
The next trailer we wanted to talk about was for it's actually a video game adaptation called Gran Turismo. This is a video game that's been around for quite a while. I think going all the way back to PlayStation 1. They've been having games in the series. I think like the 7th or 8th one is coming out soon. So this was a game that I played. My uncle was really into it. And it's just a very realistic racing game. Basically, it's a realistic take on that whole kind of genre. And the story is interesting for this movie because from what I've heard, this is actually based on a true story about a guy who became obsessed with these games and ended up becoming a real race car driver after becoming a professional driver on the game. He actually did it in real life too. So really interesting idea. And the talent involved is another big reason I'm excited. You got Orlando Bloom, an actor I really like. And then you also got David Harbour of Stranger Things fame. And so those two paired up, I'm excited to see. And then our director is Neil Blomkamp, who's a South African director. I really like District 9.
Yeah, District 9's awesome. Yeah.
Such a cool sci-fi movie. Elysium and Chappie.
I haven't seen Chappie yet.
Okay, so I like Chappie. A lot of people, were kind of mixed on that one too. I think District 9 is still his best movie, but I enjoyed his other ones as well. So different genre for him. He's only been in really the sci-fi angle, and now he's doing this kind of realistic racing movie. So curious to see him kind of stretch himself a little bit. He's a young filmmaker that I'm really excited to see kind of where his career goes. So you got to see the trailer for this one too?
Yeah, I did. I would say it's probably not really my kind of thing.
Okay.
I'd probably down for it if everybody starts raving about it, but
yeah,
it looked okay.
Okay.
I thought it was just, it's all right.
Gotcha.
Are you into racing at all? I mean, I think that might help, but
maybe a little. Again, because my uncle's kind of into it. Maybe I like it a little bit more. I did really like. I mean, I'm just a fan of a good movie, a good story, and I really liked Ford v Ferrari. Did you get to watch that? You should watch that one. That's a really good movie. James Mangold directed it. Matt Damon and Christian Bale are great in it.
I see that one.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's a true story. So if it's done well, another one I liked was I think you've seen Rush with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I did watch that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's another true story. So it all comes down to the filmmaking, really, for me. If it's well done. The story, right? The characters, yeah.
It's just like if there's a football movie, I'm like, oh, great, a football movie. I'm not into football,
right?
But there's been some really good ones. Remember the Titans was fantastic, but
exactly.
It wasn't really about the football per se.
Right? Yeah, it always helps when there's an added layer of the characters and something they're going through. That's always what makes the movie better. Not just was the racing good, but was the actual story good. So. Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to it. I guess we'll have to wait. I think that's coming out sometime this year as well. I'm not exactly sure on the date if they've announced it yet. All right, last trailer we wanted to talk about, Evil Dead Rise. So this is a spin-off of the Evil Dead franchise, the trilogy that came out. Sam Raimi directed, which I'm a huge fan of. And I'm just glad this is not a reboot or a remake. I'm glad this is continuing the story with a new set of characters in a different location, different kind of character dynamic here that we're getting. This is the mom of this family gets possessed this time. And so it just looks so creepy. I mean, the imagery here is horrifying. I sent you, I think, the Green Band trailer. There is a Red Band trailer out there, a R-rated trailer. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that one or not, but this just looks crazy. I mean, it looks like Evil Dead just with, modern effects, modern sensibilities, bigger budget, than what Sam Raimi was dealing with out in the woods with his college buddies, and had like $500 to make his little independent horror film. But this looks great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty crazy, like you said. You're a big fan of 1 and 2. I should say Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Right.
I'm not so much. I think the required viewing for this masterpiece right here, which I have to show, I'm very proud of this.
Oh, nice. Wow. Yeah. Wow, I'm jealous.
It's really sweet. Yeah. It dropped really low on Amazon one day and I picked it up.
Nice.
Anyway, so to me that is there's just so much humor in it, and that's why it's really good. I mean, there's a lot of body humor throughout the entire trilogy, I guess you could say.
Right.
But the first two are just a little bit too much, I guess.
Okay, sure.
The third one's the sweet spot. Army of Darkness is the sweet spot. So so I don't know. It's probably, I mean, I have some interest in it. So we'll see,
Okay.
I may watch it. Yeah.
Okay, because I know you're more of a horror guy than me, so I was curious to get your thoughts because
I'm more of I like the atmospheric and psychological kind of horrors.
Sure.
Than like the Saw franchise. If there's a really good story,
right,
like the Conjuring movies, some of these they have more of a story than I particularly hate a lot of the tropes like the jump scares and the haunted house, that there's like no real rules about the rules about the horror. It's just like, oh, now this thing can happen, and there's no way that the people in it can do anything, or and the horror is just selective, like it's trying to just, all it cares about is scaring someone, not actually do anything to anybody until the very end of the film, all these kind of things. So I'm also kind of critical of horror.
Sure.
There's too much gore. I don't really get that much into it.
Right.
Not that this doesn't have a fair amount of gore.
Sure.
Can you even see that? I don't even know. The Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I can see it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. That one comes out sometime this year as well. And so, that's it for our movie trailers and our movie news. So let's start discussing our top 5 most anticipated movies of the year. All right, so we're jumping into our top 5 most anticipated movies. I've got 5, Bert has 5. We don't know what's on each other's list, so we'll see if there's any overlap. But before we get into the actual movies themselves, we wanted to talk about how we created these lists and kind of talk about how movies are marketed, trailers and that kind of thing. And, when I was creating this list, I was just looking at, basically I asked myself, if I could only see 5 movies all year, look at, what's coming out, these are the 5 I would go and see in theaters. These are the 5 that I want to see the most. If I don't see anything else, these 5, I at least have to watch these this year. So that's kind of basically what I went about looking at it for. I looked at the talent involved and the directors and all that stuff. But ultimately, it came down to just kind of personal preference of, some of them are franchises that I like. Some of them are sequels that I'm just dying to see. A lot of that kind of thing too. So that's kind of how I went about looking at it. Bert, what did you do to come up with this list?
I don't know if there's any other way you can do it other than say which are the 5 I'm putting on my calendar as red letter dates for films that are coming out that I definitely have to see.
Yeah.
And then so we briefly talked about expectations, and these movies we want to see are mostly based on the trailer that comes out.
Sure.
And so I wanted to maybe throw this out for a minute about trailers, because historically we've all had those trailers that look incredible, right? And then you go to the movie and either it wasn't as good or it was a totally different movie than what you expected.
Right, right.
Just to throw out some examples, like I think one of the best trailers I've ever seen was Titanic, because I was not going to watch that movie, and I went and saw the trailer, and
Right.
it was that shot that Cameron has of the ship being tilted, and they're all the way at the top of the ship looking down into the ocean,
Right,
and
right.
everything's falling, and I was
Yeah.
just literally blown away. That got
Right.
me to go see the film. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite films of all time. So
Right,
that was a
right.
very successable marketing campaign, I think, because I
Sure.
wasn't going to even go see it. I thought, why is he doing a film like this? Where's Terminator 3?
Right.
you know and then a couple others that were really, I think, marketed well. The movie Old, I think, is the
Mm,
perfect example of sort of a big concept, and just it's one of those you're like, oh, I have to see that because I got to know what I like, and immediately you're like, ooh, that I have to see what's going to happen to those characters.
sure. Yeah.
Just from that 2-minute clip, I knew that I wanted to see it as soon as possible.
Right.
And there's been a lot of those throughout time.
Sure.
Another one I think maybe this is the trailer that had me the most intrigued ever, and that was The Watchmen.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and I didn't know anything about it. I don't read the comics. I didn't even know it
Uh-huh.
was a comic.
Yeah.
But along came this trailer that was really, really cool looking, and
Yeah.
I didn't really know who Zack Snyder was at that point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the movie was kind of let down for me. I
Mm,
maybe if I knew the comics or something, but it wasn't really what I
yeah.
was thinking it was gonna be. I was
Right.
thinking more like Batman Begins or something like that
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
than what we got.
Right.
But those were some interesting. I'll throw out a couple more, but do any pop in your head as far as like memorable trailers, one way or the other, and how that affected you as a
Yeah, I mean, you bring up Old and M. Night. I think he's had such a hard time marketing his movies because you can't give away what it is, right?
That's true. You don't want to give away
It's
too much. Yeah.
you know, and so I think the studios have a hard time marketing his movies because they kind of want to make them all seem like The Sixth Sense or something like that,
Yeah.
and his movies aren't always like that, and so it becomes difficult for specific filmmakers when they're trying to branch out and do something different. And the studio just wants to kind of, sell it on, this filmmaker does this thing. So that can be a challenge.
Well, let me
None
ask you
really.
this:
Yeah, go ahead.
is it the job of the marketer, the guy that puts the trailer together? I mean, is it his job to get you in the theater regardless of how much he gives away? Like, does the director get to say, well, don't say anything about this, and this? Like, there's probably a whole meeting about what they are willing to give up in a trailer, right? I would
I
think.
would imagine. I would imagine the director
Yeah.
has a lot of meetings with marketing guys about, hey, especially if it's a guy like M. Night who has, twists and turns in his films, he doesn't want to give away
Right,
too
right,
much. I'm sure
right.
they must be some kind of meetings about that. But yeah,
Mhm.
ultimately, the marketing team, typically the studios, hire out trailer. They've been recently hiring out companies that just do trailers and getting them to, market these movies for audiences. So yeah, it's hard because you don't want to give away too much, but your job is to get butts and seats. I mean, that's really the
Exactly.
the ultimate
Yeah,
goal.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a difficult kind of give and take, I think, with these things sometimes.
Think it'd be a frustrating job to know you have these money shots, and the director's like, no, you can't give that away because then you
Right.
find out who did this and when. You're like,
Right,
oh, but I
exactly.
would get a raise if I get a bonus if I put that in the trailer because everybody will go see it.
Exactly. Right, right.
Yeah, you're right though about Old.
Hmm.
I'll throw out a couple more that I think were kind of poorly marketed. One of
Mm,
them is Batman Begins.
mm.
A friend of mine had dragged me to see it
Wow.
because I saw the trailer and I thought, yeah, I was so done with Batman at that point
Yeah.
after the 90s.
Right.
And that ended up being terrific, obviously, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Right.
Another one is Lord of the Rings. I think I told you this
Mm.
before. They had a trilogy trailer. That's the first time I'd ever heard anything about it. I was watching a movie, and they, on came some scenes from this trilogy. So they
Mm.
tell you in the trailer they're gonna film 3 movies at once, and they're showing it all to you, and you're like, oh, that's gonna be so bad. It
Right.
looks so bad. And I only went to see it the first one because I was trying to kill some time.
Mm.
I had a few hours. It was by myself in a different city, and thought, well, this could be good. And then it turned out to be what it is.
Right,
So
right.
I didn't think that was the best marketing per se.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know what you do with it though, but and then
Uh-huh.
of course we talked before too about The Village. I mean that really, I mean, for me, I didn't care about the marketing. I thought it was a success, but it irked many people, with sort of advertising it like this sort of creature feature kind of scary film, and it's
Right.
it's a period drama.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just think that those expectations make a big difference.
Yeah.
I try not to watch trailers if I know,
Hmm.
or I'll watch them once early on and then never
Right.
again. Usually,
Right.
I forget most of what I see. And another thing that's funny about trailers too that I you probably noticed is that if there's that trailer that you've seen 4, 5, 6 times that's a comedy, then when you go to watch that movie, the parts where you see coming with the laughs that are in the trailer,
Right.
you're like, oh yeah, that yes, I
Here it
saw that
is.
5, 6 times before. But if you
Right.
see that movie in the theater, there's
Yeah.
inevitably people that haven't, and I've been that person where I'm watching a
Hmm.
movie and I'm like laughing at the jokes, haven't seen the trailer,
Right.
and then my buddy's like, oh yeah, that was in the trailer, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm the only one laughing.
Right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
again, it's a tough give and take. You gotta give audiences enough to get them in, but you can't give too much away or else it kind of spoils the whole thing. So yeah, that's
right.
difficult. All right, folks, we're ready to get into our lists. But first, some honorable mentions. So there's a lot coming out this year, a lot that I'm excited about, a lot that I know, Bert, you're excited to see. So wanted to start with some honorable mentions. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Not a Dungeons and Dragons guy. Have never played it, but the trailer looked cool. I thought it looked fun.
Yeah.
It looked like they have a good cast. Chris Pine is in there, Michelle Rodriguez. It looks like it's got some good effects, some good action. It just looks like a fun kind of fantasy adventure. Chris Pine
Right.
described it as, I think, Game of Thrones meets Princess Bride, I think is what he
Mhm.
described the movie as, which is interesting combo. So curious about that one. I'm curious about the new Transformers movie. That
Yeah, me
trailer
too.
really surprised me. I was
That's on my
really
list. Yeah.
excited about that because
Yeah.
we've got a fresh new director. Michael Bay's just producing now,
Mhm.
and I really liked Bumblebee. That was my favorite of all the
That was good.
Transformers.
Hmm.
Really liked it, and this is continuing the story from that movie onto the new Beast Wars era, where they're bringing in all these animal Transformers, and yeah, I'm interested in that one as
Is
well.
that directed by Bay, that one?
No, this one is by Stephen Caple Jr.
Okay.
He did Creed 2,
Okay.
and I think he did one other independent movie before then. So he's a young director.
Okay.
But no, I think Bay is just producing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Spielberg. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
definitely curious about Rise of the Beasts,
Hmm.
which I think comes out in June. So I'll just mention those few for now. I'll mention a few more in a second. What do you have on your list, Bert?
Actually, one that's out right now is Plane with Gerard Butler. I'm kind of a sucker for these action movies. I mean, none of them are outstanding, but I
Sure.
just really like him as action guy.
I like him too. Yeah.
So who knows what it'll turn out to be, but it's either out now or it comes out this Friday, one of the two.
Right.
So that looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's one coming out in another week or two here called Missing, and
Mm.
it's classified as a computer screen mystery thriller,
Hmm.
kind of like the movie Unfriended from 2014. Did you ever see
Okay. I
Unfriended?
never saw that,
It,
but I've heard of it.
the entire movie is set on computer screens and smartphones, so it's kind of like found
Oh,
footage.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that
Hmm.
one Unfriended, it's more of a horror movie.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. It's fun.
Okay.
This one though, Missing, is about a teen. Her mom actually goes to a Caribbean resort and doesn't come back, and so
Oh,
she's trying to figure out how to track her down.
okay.
It's kind of an unknown cast for the most part, so
Right.
it just looked pretty interesting.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and then of course a big one coming up is Ant-Man 3
Yeah.
on February 17. I recently rewatched both Ant-Man films. I
Hmm.
apparently like the first one a lot more than the second one.
Okay.
I really felt kind of let down by the second one because it just seemed like it just was kind of predictable. So
Okay.
I
I gotcha.
I
Sure.
watched the trailer for part three. So
Hmm.
I definitely want to see it,
Yeah.
but I have lower expectations this time.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that one's on my list for sure. This is the one that's really introducing it. We've had hints of him before, but the new big Marvel villain who is Kang the Conqueror,
Oh, okay,
played by
gotcha.
Jonathan Majors, and so that's why I'm really excited to see it. I'm also a
Gotcha.
huge Ant-Man fan. That first one
Right.
especially, and I like the second
Yeah,
one a
yeah.
lot more than you do, but I really like the whole heist angle that those movies take, and
Mhm.
I like the family dynamics. I think are really cool and different. So I'm a pretty big Ant-Man fan, and I think that this one has the potential to be the best one because it is going bigger,
Mhm.
going into the quantum realm, as the title suggests, Quantumania,
Right.
and it's all these characters together on
Mhm.
this adventure. So it looks like some bizarre visuals, some kind of crazy action
Yeah, that's true.
sequences. So yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like a lot of fun, and of course, there's the other Marvel movie coming out, The Marvels,
Mhm.
which is a sequel to Captain Marvel, and it's introducing Miss Marvel, who was had her own series on Disney Plus last year, which was
Wow.
surprisingly good for me. I did not
Was it?
expect much
Yeah.
out of it, and really enjoyed it. So
Mm.
excited to see those two team up in that movie. While we're talking superhero movies, we might as well talk about a couple of the DC movies too, which a couple of these
Mhm.
might be on your list. Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That one I'm
That's
definitely
on my
looking
honorable
forward to.
mentions too. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that one looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I like Zachary Levi in that role.
Sure.
That first movie is so funny and just
Yeah.
great, and this one looks like it's going bigger, as sequels do, and so looking forward to that one. There's one coming out called Blue Beetle, who's a character a lot of
Oh.
people don't know about from DC Comics. He's going to be played by Sholo Martinez, I think is his name, the lead actor on Cobra Kai,
Oh,
um,
okay. Okay.
who's really
That's
good.
right.
I like
Right.
him on
Right.
that
Yeah.
show a lot, and so
Right.
he's playing this character who's kind of how should I describe him? He's a teenager who gets a alien scarab on his back, which allows him to
Mm.
utilize a high-tech suit of armor, kind of like Iron Man. But it's
Gotcha.
like teenage Iron Man with aliens, basically. It's
Yeah.
like a really cool design. It's a
Huh.
cool concept for the character, and
Yeah.
he's got a pretty long history in DC Comics. So very curious about that one. That's supposed to come out in August. And then, of course, the other DC movie is The Flash, with
Right. Right.
Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton.
Hmm.
Ben Affleck is supposed to be in that
Hmm.
one as well. So I'm really curious about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be great, could be terrible. I don't know, but it's
Hmm.
supposed to be a big kind of storyline from the comics called Flashpoint that they're adapting, where he goes back in
Gotcha.
time to save his mother, and the
Oh.
timeline kind of gets all screwy. So
Hmm.
that's another one I'm looking forward to as well. You have any more
I
on
just
your
want to throw out.
list?
I do have maybe two, three, four more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of them is called Inside, March 10th.
Mm.
It's about a burglar breaks into sort of a posh apartment to steal millions, but
Mm.
he actually finds himself trapped, and then he kind of descends into madness. I'm trying to think. I watched this trailer like 3 weeks ago, and I can't even remember who the lead is.
Okay.
Actually, oh, it's the guy that plays Green Goblin. Um,
Oh, Willem Dafoe?
thank you. Yeah, it was Willem Dafoe in it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That looks like a good trailer if you can check that one out. It's called Inside.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Great.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely check
yeah.
that one out.
Another one is the we've talked about this one before, but the Super Mario Brothers movie. That
Oh
looks
yeah.
really cute and fun.
Sure.
So that's a definite.
Yep.
Guardians 3 looks like more of the same. So that's one. I probably will see that in the theater
Cool.
because Marvel ones usually are a theater, type of experience.
Yeah, we haven't talked about you got to watch the Guardians movies finally,
I did. Oh,
and you
that's right.
enjoyed
Yeah, I
them.
did. I did. Yeah, I did. I liked the first one better, and the second
Yeah.
one was still good. I
Yeah.
didn't like it quite as much. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way. But
Oh,
every time I watch the second one, I like it more. It's one of
yeah,
those
yeah,
that
yeah.
the more you
Sure.
spend time with it and hang out with the
Uh-huh.
characters, it's really fun. So
Right,
yeah, I'm glad you got to
right.
check those out finally. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, I'll mention a couple more. Kraven the Hunter is actually another Marvel-esque movie. It's
Mm,
Sony, Spider-Man villain. who's getting his
Oh,
own movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's an actor I really like.
oh, right, the kick-ass guy.
Yep. He played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and
Right.
he was in that new Bullet Train movie. He's an actor I really like. He supposedly is up for the role of Bond right now too.
Oh, yeah, I think I read that too. That
Yeah,
seems strange to me. I did
yeah,
want to mention too. I rewatched both Kick-Ass films, and I
yeah,
actually hated the second one, I must say.
yeah.
But in the first one, we were just talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Obviously,
Yep,
he's the star, and
yep.
then he plays Quicksilver in one of the X-Men films, right? Or no, one
Aaron
of
Taylor
the
Johnson plays Quicksilver in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But then his the kid that plays Quicksilver in the other X-Men films is the buddy
Oh,
of Kick-Ass.
yes, Evan Peters.
And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, isn't that
yeah,
funny?
yeah. My mind was kind of was jumbled after seeing that and kind of trying to match up the pieces. I'm like,
Right.
what why? Like, so anyway, that's sort of a strange coincidence, I guess you
Yeah,
could
that
say.
is very strange that those guys both ended up playing the same character in different movies.
Yeah,
Very
and both
weird.
Marvel
Yeah,
universe too. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right.
bizarre. Last superhero one I'll mention. Well, actually, there's two more. Three more. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm a huge Aquaman fan. A lot of people didn't care for that
Didn't that
movie.
get pushed?
It's still set for December.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
it's
okay,
late,
gotcha.
much later this year, but yeah, it was
Okay,
because you're right. It was in March, I think, and then they pushed it to December.
okay, gotcha.
So yeah, that one. Just I'm a huge fan of Jason Momoa and James Wan directing that. Um,
Mhm.
Ninja Turtles. There's a new Ninja Turtles movie. It's an
Oh,
animated movie coming out.
okay,
I'm a big fan of that property. Watched the
gotcha.
cartoon and seen all the movies. So I think Seth Rogen is producing and maybe even
Oh,
co-writing that one. So I'm
okay.
curious about that. And then the other one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which
Mm.
huge fan of Into the Spider-Verse. I thought that was such a unique, very artistic, just looked like a comic book come to life in such a unique way. Just unique animation and great characters and just really, really great movie. So sequel to that's coming out, I think in June, and so that's one that I'm also very excited about. I'll mention a couple more. Elemental by
Oh
Pixar,
yeah, yeah,
which
that
we've
looks cute. Yeah, yeah,
discussed. That looks like a lot of fun.
yeah.
Asteroid City from director Wes Anderson, who's a guy that I'm a big fan of. He did Grand Budapest Hotel and all kinds of great movies. Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's a really quirky,
Oh, that was a
interesting
good one.
filmmaker.
Yeah.
So yeah, Asteroid City. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if he's revealed anything, but it's got a great cast. So
Hmm.
that one I'm looking forward to. John Wick Chapter 4. This is one of the sequels that almost made my list. I'm so excited to see where they take this franchise, especially where 3 ended. Kind of a
Yeah.
cliffhanger ending. I know you haven't seen them yet, so I won't give anything away.
I
But
I just started watching them
oh,
actually.
did you? Okay, so you've seen the first
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I don't love them as much as I thought I was gonna. I haven't done
Okay,
reviews on them yet. I'm in the middle of part 2 currently.
okay,
Um,
gotcha.
watching it as we speak. No, I'm
Oh,
just
really
kidding.
cool. Okay,
Right. That'd be funny.
That would
No,
be
but yeah, they're good. I kind of expected a little more, I think.
okay.
But I know you're a big fan of that whole trilogy.
Yeah, I just think the fight choreography is incredible, and the way
Yeah,
they
it
continue
is.
to
It
build
is.
out the whole world of these assassins is so interesting, especially in the third. I think the third one's the best one.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay. Yeah.
they do some really interesting things in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's one that I'm excited about. And then the new Fast and Furious, Fast X, the 10th Fast and Furious movie, the start of the finale.
Oh
They're doing a
yeah.
two-part finale, and so
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
it should be bonkers in all the right ways. One of those great popcorn blockbuster films that I'm into. So I think that's it for my list. Oh, Barbie. I have to
Oh,
mention Barbie. I don't know if you've seen the
that
teaser trailer for
I
this.
did
Did
watch
you?
that. It looked interesting. Yeah.
I think it looks so interesting. They're paying homage
Yeah.
to 2001: A Space Odyssey and that teaser trailer and just all the best ways. And it just
Hmm.
looks so different from. I mean, what do you do
Yeah.
with a Barbie movie? I don't even know. But Greta
Yeah.
Gerwig is the best choice. She's a really interesting young filmmaker. She did a movie called Lady Bird that I'm a big fan of, and she's a great actress as well. But yeah, I'm curious, very curious about that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all I
That'd be
had.
funny. I I
Do you
had
have any
one
more?
more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 4, called
Mm.
Axel Foley is coming out. It's going to be a Netflix film.
Okay.
and looks like all the same cast,
Right.
except adding Kevin Bacon and Joseph
Mm,
Gordon-Levitt, which are
okay.
amazing additions, obviously.
Great. Yeah,
That's a must see. I mean,
definitely.
I like all three of those. That, I mean, the last one that came out was, I want to say, mid '90s was the third one, because I remember what theater I was working at when it came out.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, it was even that one was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I like all those too. I think they're really fun and
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to make a legacy sequel like that so many years after the original. Not very many have been able to really nail it, so
Mhm.
hopefully they do. I know a lot of the cast is coming back. I know I heard Judge Reynolds is coming back, and
Yeah, Judge Reinhold. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
he's always good.
yeah,
There's like a lot of these actors have just disappeared. Bronson Pinchot,
right,
he's sort of a strange guy. I haven't seen him in a movie in 20
yeah,
years at least.
right.
Paul Reiser, he used to be a headliner.
Oh,
Paul Reiser
sure,
did.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so he's going to be in it. I
Hmm,
can't remember if he was even in the originals, but
I
I
don't
liked him
know.
a lot, and he just disappeared.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our top five list now. Do you want me to start us off, or do you want to start us off?
It doesn't matter to me. Doesn't.
You can go for it if you're ready.
I'm ready. You want me to go with mine?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
My number five is Rebel Moon.
Yes, Rebel
you know,
Moon.
you know
Yes,
about this film, then I take it.
I've heard of it. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
you've
heard of
heard of
it.
it?
I've heard a
Okay.
couple things about it.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know, I didn't know anything about this, and I was doing
Yeah.
some research about what's coming out, and I came across this beauty,
Hmm.
and it's a Zack Snyder space war film, kind of like Star Wars. Apparently, and you probably know all this, but
Yeah.
for anybody that doesn't, apparently he wanted to do a Star Wars film, and they said, "Nah, we don't need you," or something.
Right.
And so this is going to be sort of in that vein, but his take on it, completely different universe.
Yep.
It's got a few sort of well-known actors. Charlie, who I can never say his name.
Hunnam. Yep.
Ray Fisher. Wait, wasn't Ray Fisher in the Phantom
Cyborg.
Menace?
Yeah, he's Cyborg. Yep.
Wait, oh, he's Cyborg. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's.
From
I
Justice
was
League.
thinking of the guy who plays Darth Maul. What's his name?
Oh, that's Ray Park.
I confuse those two.
Different
Yeah,
Ray.
right. Ray Fisher is Cyborg. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Jenna Malone. And then
Mm,
I think small parts by Anthony Hopkins and Carrie Elwes.
right.
And there's a description, and it's going to be a Netflix film, by
Yeah.
the way, which is interesting. But
Hmm.
I think it's going to have a theatrical release as well.
Right.
And the synopsis is that a peaceful colony on the edge of the galaxy is threatened by the armies of a tyrannical regent named Belisarius. The desperate civilians dispatch a young woman who has a mysterious past to seek out warriors from nearby planets to help them challenge the regent. I don't even know what all that means, but
Right.
that reading I did right there is probably better than the trailer, guaranteed.
Right.
Sold. No, but I'll tell you, there are some images out there. There's not a
Yeah.
trailer, but there's some behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
And yeah, it already I'm like, oh yeah, Zack Snyder especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, even without the trailer.
Definitely. Definitely. We will talk about more about that one soon.
Oh,
On
gotcha.
my
Sounds
list as
good.
well.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So I'll jump in with my number
Okay.
five, which is another big sci-fi epic called Dune Part Two.
Mhm.
So, second part of Denis Villeneuve's Dune duology, I guess. I think he actually does want it to be a trilogy because he wants to adapt the second book. The
Oh,
first book's so long he had to do a two-part film, and then he wants to
wow.
do the second book as kind of the third movie. But um, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that first Dune movie. I really think it's just spectacular visually. The effects are seamless. Great world building. Incredible score by Zimmer, of course.
Mhm.
Great cast. Timothy Chalamet, I think, is wonderful. Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson. Just such a great cast. Stellan Skarsgård, Jason Momoa is in that one too. David Batista.
Oh,
So
that's right.
just so many great actors in there, and it's such a dense mythology. I mean, this book is like that thick. I haven't read it, but I've been tempted to. I want to. I just know it'll take so much time to read it. So yeah, I'm super excited because again, that first one I liked a lot. It's a slow burn. I know you weren't as high on it as I was, but it's a different kind of sci-fi movie. And the second one, it's they're adding even more great actors. Florence Pugh, who's this rising star. She's great in everything I've seen her in. Austin Butler, who's getting awards buzz for Elvis. He just played Elvis in that Baz Luhrmann film. Christopher
Oh,
Walken is going to be
oh,
added to the cast now. Léa Seydoux, who I know from the Bond films, and Tim Blake Nelson was just announced to also join the cast. So great cast of characters, a lot of good actors working in there. Just curious to see where the story goes. I've seen the original David Lynch Dune. I actually have the Blu-ray, which
is
covers the
that
whole.
based on the book as well? Oh,
It is, and it covers the whole thing. And so they really condense it because that movie's like only maybe 2 hours at the most. And so
yeah,
they really
yeah.
condense it down to its kind of bare bones. And I remember enjoying it. I don't remember all the details of it, so
Yeah,
I'll be surprised when I see this new one. But
yeah.
I'm glad they're taking their time with developing this story, and just curious to see where it all goes. It's set for release on November 3rd.
Yeah, and I will say, I went back and watched Villeneuve's Arrival film,
Oh yeah,
and I gave it probably almost 2 stars higher the second viewing.
right.
So I will go back and watch this.
Cool.
I flat out didn't like the first
Yeah.
Dune film. I mean, it built a lot of tension and atmosphere because of
Yeah.
that the music and stuff.
Right,
But I
right.
was just like, I just wanted it to get going a little faster.
Sure, sure.
But I probably just need to rewatch it.
Yeah,
Everybody loves it. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I probably just
sure.
was in the mood to have something a little quicker pace,
Right.
I
Yeah,
should have
settle
put it on
in.
a Marvel film.
Yeah, right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, settle in one night, make sure
Yeah,
it's not too late, and
yeah.
just kind of
I
settle
will
in
come
for
back to it.
a journey. Take a journey.
Right, right.
So cool. All right, well, that's my number five. What's your number four?
I've got Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's film coming in July.
Yes. I didn't
Yep.
include this in honorable mentions because I knew it would be on your list.
Yeah, I got at least one like that too that I think you're going to talk
Yeah,
about.
right, right,
Yeah, so and it stars now I like to call him Cillian Murphy because I think that's a cool sounding name, but I think it's Killian.
right.
And he stars as Oppenheimer himself,
Yeah.
sort of I guess he's like the father of the atomic bomb, and
Yep.
this kind of is a true story about what went down. I mean, the cast on this is nuts.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey, Rami Malek, however you say his name,
Yep.
Josh Hartnett, Kenneth Branagh, Matthew Modine, Jack Quaid, Jason Clarke, Tony Goldwyn, the bad guy from Ghost,
Right.
Gary Oldman, Casey Affleck. I mean, wow, this might
Wow.
be his most star-studded cast yet.
I think so.
Yeah, my only thing is that, and I'm sure my concerns will go away when I see it, but typically he's able to build sort of these big, epic action scenes. And I think
Right.
this will be a departure from that.
Yeah.
But I still think he'll do a good job with it, and it'll
Mhm.
probably be amazing. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so high on my list, is because other than Tenet, and that's another one I have to go revisit again, I haven't
Mhm.
really been disappointed with anything that
Right.
Nolan has done, obviously, and he's made some of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. And this will be another, I think it will be a spectacle for sure. I mean, you've got, he supposedly, I don't know how, but he said in some interview I read, they were able to set off the first atomic explosion without CGI. I don't know what that means.
I read something about that too.
I
Yeah,
don't know what he's talking about, but I mean, there's no way he set off an actual atomic device, but somehow they created an atomic
yeah.
looking explosion without
Uh-huh.
CGI, which is
Right.
incredible. I
Which is
don't
why I
know.
like him so much too,
Yeah,
because I'd much rather have the practical,
absolutely.
and knowing it's practical, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, so now we know what it would look like, or
right.
there's not a ton of footage of actual detonations. There's a little
Sure.
bit, but it's
Yeah,
grainy.
yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
yeah, that's what I'm very excited about for that cast. Just that cast you mentioned. I mean, those are all like A-list actors that headline their own movies, and they're all playing these supporting roles, which is
right.
just so cool that he's at the level of filmmaker that he can do that now.
Yeah.
That's just great. So very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to, I don't know if he shot it all in IMAX, maybe. I'm not sure, but I know he's a big IMAX proponent, and
Right.
I heard a lot of it is in black and white too, which I'm a big fan of
Oh,
black and white filmography. So,
that's interesting.
yeah, I'm really curious about that one for sure. Looking
Yeah,
forward
I'm
to it.
curious what he does artistically with it. And also, I wanted to
Mhm.
throw out there that these days it's you hear about like Avatar's got to clear 200 billion or 2 billion in order to make a profit. Well,
Right.
apparently, just this movie alone, apparently Nolan said that it has to clear 400 million just to break even. So this
Wow.
isn't like a period drama This is going to be a big budget thing, and there's going to
Yes.
be some money up on the screen. So I don't even know
Yeah.
what that's going to look like because the trailer doesn't necessarily look like that.
Right.
But
I
that
wonder if I
intrigues me
want.
even more about it. You know,
Yeah, I wonder if if it went to the cast. You got to pay all
good
those
point.
big
Yeah,
actors. That might have been part of it.
right.
Great pick. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about that. I think that one's in either June or July, I want to say.
July 21 right now. Mhm.
Great. Awesome. Looking forward to it. Okay, let's jump into my number four, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume
Mm.
3. This is the next big Marvel movie I'm looking forward to, because this one looks like, James Gunn, he really cares about these characters, you can tell. I mean, he really has gone in depth with them. I thought that's one thing I like about the sequel a lot, is that you really get to know the characters better and their
Mhm.
backstories, and how they relate to one another is furthered a lot and developed. So this one looks like it's going to be no exception. They dropped the trailer for this a few weeks back, and it just looks great. It looks very emotional. It looks intense. It looks like some wonderful visuals here. Uh, the holiday special got me even more excited. Did you get to watch that?
I did. Yeah, that was
Okay.
good. It was good.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so good. It was really funny, and just hit you in the feels in all the right ways too. So
Mhm.
looking for this movie to do much of the same thing. It's James Gunn's final Marvel movie. After this, he's done. He's
Right.
going full on DC. So
Mhm.
it's the grand finale of this iteration of the Guardians. A new team may emerge by the end of the movie. But as far as Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot, their story is over here. So curious what's going to happen with all these characters. Who will die? Who will live?
Yeah.
What's the story going to be with Gamora after what happened in Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, exactly. Because she
Looks
appears
like
in the
we're getting.
trailer.
Yeah, she is in there.
Maybe a
Yeah,
flashback though.
yeah,
Who
could
knows?
be. I don't know. I don't know. So, it looks like we're gonna get Rocket's origin story.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
characters like Adam Warlock, who's a character I've been looking forward to. He's set up post-credit scene of Guardians 2. Will Poulter is playing him as a young actor that I really like, and so curious to see what they do with him. Super powerful character in the comics that we've been waiting for a while. An actress named Maria Bakalova is playing Cosmo, who we got a brief glimpse of in this holiday special. He's the space dog that
Oh,
has
okay.
telekinetic powers. And so I'm curious to see what they do with that character as well, because that's a character from the comics that's, and pretty much all the Guardians comics. So a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to there. More great action, more great, storytelling there with the Guardians, who are uh, characters that I knew very little about going into the first Guardians movie,
Sure. Yeah, me too.
and have just grown to really adore those characters. So that one is coming on May 5th. That will be the first kind of kickoff to the summer big blockbuster Marvel movie. So yeah, wrap up of that whole trilogy. So excited about that one.
Good stuff. Yeah.
All right, on to your number three.
My number three is A Knock at the Cabin. M.
Oh,
Night.
great. Okay, yes, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought this one might be on your list too, which is why it was not in my
Yeah.
honorable mentions.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a sucker for almost any one of his, but I sort of love or hate him, depending
Yeah,
on what is on the screen a lot of the time.
yeah.
And we were talking earlier about trailers giving away things, and
Hmm.
I kind of wonder if they maybe did give away too much this time, because I rewatched the trailer and I'm like, um, I don't know which direction it's going to go, but
Right.
I kind of wish the trailer didn't exist if they gave away too
Yeah,
much. You know what
I
I mean?
know.
So I won't say anything about it, but
Yeah.
apparently it's the movie's based on a novel called The
Oh.
Cabin at the End of the World.
Hmm.
And Old was that perfect trailer, and then was kind of a letdown. So
Yeah.
let's hope that I don't have giant expectations. This doesn't have that like premise like, oh, this is amazing, like this concept. Because I mean, there's a
Right.
lot of cabin movies, right?
Sure. Sure.
But I have high hopes that it will be one of the real good ones.
Right. Yeah. Me too. Definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, I think I'm similar to you though. I feel like sometimes he doesn't hit his mark, and so that's maybe why it didn't quite make my list. And so yeah, I'm definitely curious. Gonna check it out. Really, all you needed for a trailer was literally like the family having a good time at a cabin, and then there being an ominous knock on the door, and the trailer ends. I mean, that literally, and they just put M. Night's name on it. That's all you need. That's all
I
we
know.
needed.
I almost wish I would have stopped watching the trailer, but hopefully
Yeah,
there's a lot more to it, you
yeah,
know.
I'm sure there
By
is.
by the way, have you seen The Happening by M. Night?
That's one of the ones I have not seen. I think there's only two
Uh,
movies of his I haven't seen, and that's one of them.
yeah. I'll just lower your expectations and say that's maybe about his worst one in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what
And I
I've
won't say
heard.
anything else about it, but it's just the execution.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
Kind
So
of like
hopefully
old.
this one,
It's not as I liked old a lot better though, but
yeah.
yeah,
Old for me just fell apart at the end. I really liked the whole movie up until the last like 15 minutes, maybe, is
sure.
where
Oh
it
yeah,
just
I get it
fell
completely.
apart for
Yeah,
me. So yeah,
frustrating.
hopefully this one he hits it and hits it out of the
Yeah,
park because we need another good M. Night movie. And it's
yeah.
interesting that this one is not an original screenplay because usually his
Hmm.
are original screenplays.
That's
I think
true.
he's only
Yeah.
done maybe two or three movies that aren't. So yeah, I'd be
This
curious to
could be a
see.
good thing. I mean, he's under pressure when he writes his new screenplay to have it be this sort of gotcha ending.
That's true.
And I think that may have worked against him, at
Yeah,
times.
I think eventually it really started to wear on him as a filmmaker
Mhm.
because I don't think he ever set out to be the guy that does the twist endings. He
The
just wanted to
gotcha
be a
guy. Yeah.
filmmaker.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Exactly.
he's branched out. He's done stuff like After Earth, which I actually like quite a bit. But
Last
yeah,
Airbender.
I think
Amazing.
when he kind of what's that?
Last Airbender,
The Last Airbender, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. We
Amazing.
still got to do that Last Airbender podcast we've been talking
Yeah.
about for so long.
Right.
So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see with Mr. Knight, see what he ends up doing.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let's see. That was your four.
That was my three.
That was your three. Okay, I'll do my three real quick. We got 7 minutes.
Gotcha.
Okay, so jumping into my number three, it is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part One.
Mm.
So this movie, of course, is the seventh in the
Hmm.
Mission Impossible franchise. Been going on since 1996. So well over 20 years, almost 30 years, this franchise has been going on. And every time Tom Cruise finds some way to wow us. I don't know how he does it every time, 7 movies in, but every time there's this crazy stunt that he's attempting that just defies expectation. I mean, he's a madman. So he'll do anything to entertain us, which is much appreciated, but
That's true. Yeah.
makes me worry sometimes. So we'll just have to see what he does. When we went and saw Avatar: Way of Water, they showed us a behind the scenes look at this new big stunt he's doing, which is involving a
Oh,
motorcycle and a cliff and a
I think I've
parachute.
seen it. Yeah. I think I saw it on
Yeah, I
YouTube.
think they
Yeah.
released it online. Yeah.
Yeah.
So looks like another crazy, intense movie. They're adding new cast members, including Haley Atwell, who people will know as Peggy Carter from the Captain America movies. Pom Klementieff, who plays Mantis in the Guardians
Oh,
films.
okay.
And then they're also adding in Carrie Elways and Henry Czerny, who played the CIA character from the first, or the Impossible Missions Force guy in the first Mission Impossible, who I haven't seen since then.
Since part
So
one?
since part one, yeah,
Wow.
he's coming back. So they're kind of, I think, trying to tie it all together in a
Can they
really
bring back
interesting way.
Emilio too? Emilio Estevez?
Why not? Hey, I don't
I
know if they
mean,
can actually. I
he
think
died in the
I
first
think
one,
he
but
passed. Yeah, he's no longer with us, that character, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, you got Christopher McQuarrie coming back directing and writing. He's such a talented filmmaker. He's done the past three of these movies. So really curious to see what they do with it, how they close it out, because this is part one,
Mhm.
because it is the finale. Part two will come out in 2024, and that'll be the last mission movie, at least this iteration. I don't see the studio ending it if these both gross $1 billion. I think they'll probably find a way to spin it off or something with one of these side characters, maybe. I don't know, but it's supposed to be the grand finale, so they're kind of going all out. And so very curious about this. These are some of the most entertaining movies of the past decade. I think from three on, they've just gotten better. And I really think that this is just event filmmaking. This is kind of what you go to the theater to see, these big action spectacles. But they've also got characters that we really care about. I mean, Ethan Hunt is a guy that I feel like we've gotten to know so well, especially over the last
Mhm.
couple movies. and guys like Benji, played by Simon Pegg. I really like his
Mhm.
character as well.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
just great characters, great storytelling on every level. So that one I'm very very excited about.
And I'll withhold my comments for a little bit later,
Okay, gotcha.
just in
Good,
case it
good.
pops back up.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that one comes out July 14th. All right, so that's my number three. Bert, we're on to your number two. What you got?
Flash at number 2.
Okay, great. All right,
I'm hugely
interesting.
looking forward to this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good.
I think we said a couple spoilers earlier, right? Because I don't want to say anything if we hadn't about who's in it,
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about who's in it. I
right?
mean, that's public
Not
information.
against the law.
Who's
All
in it?
right,
Yeah,
this isn't Russia. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I mean, just the idea of Michael Keaton back as Batman and Ben Affleck back as Batman.
Right,
I mean, right there, I mean, what choice do I have? I have no choice but to go see it.
right.
And then on top of that, I took a look at the cast because I wanted
Yeah,
to ruin all spoilers. But
sure.
no, but Michael Shannon's apparently in it as Zod as well.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So I don't know how or why, but that sounds good. I thought he was great. I mean,
Oh,
he's a very
yeah,
interesting actor,
he is.
and I think that may be about my favorite role of his. But
Yeah.
so that sounds interesting. But just
Mhm.
I want to read the synopsis too, because you know a lot more about Flash and what's coming, and that kind of thing. But one synopsis said Flash will take advantage of the famous arcs time altering concepts to bring the two Batmans back to the role of Batman. So is it essentially multiverse kind of stuff? I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly right. So yeah, the Flash has the ability to run so fast that he can travel through time, travel through
Sure.
dimensions
Right.
to different
Yeah.
worlds, that
I
kind
mean, he
of
did
thing.
that
So
in Justice League, right? Or wait,
yes,
no,
exactly.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that looks like that's what's going to happen here. Like I mentioned before, Flashpoint is the storyline that it looks like they're adapting, where his mother dies when he's young, and
Mhm.
so when he realizes he has this power to go back in time, he tries to go back and save her, creating an alternate reality,
Oh,
in which there's a different guy as Batman and all these different
yeah.
characters, different things going on in the world, and
Yeah.
wars break out, and all this madness kind of happens.
I thought he his what's the actor's name again?
Ezra Miller,
I can never remember that. Yeah.
yeah,
I thought he was really one of the best parts of Justice League,
for sure.
frankly. And
Yeah.
especially his interactions and that one scene with Superman
Mm.
where he's trying to race by him, and
Oh
Superman
yeah.
turns and looks at him. Stuff.
Right.
Some of that stuff is some of the best stuff of that movie.
Yes. Yes.
And he's funny.
Yep.
And I like the character, what his abilities are,
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely down. I mean, honestly, I can't think of other than one other movie, a movie I want to see more. So
Right. Yeah, it does look very interesting. I'm very curious to see what ends up happening with it. I think this was, when Snyder had his plan in place, and this is kind
Mhm.
of still part of that because obviously it's
Oh, okay.
Affleck and it's Ezra Miller, it's all these same actors. And I
Yeah,
think this
yeah.
was the movie he was going to use after his Justice League movies were all done to kind of
Yeah,
restart the timeline. So I'm
gotcha.
wondering if that's what happens here, if we get,
Mm,
at the end of this movie, we get now James Gunn's new universe basically is
right.
is starting over. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing Affleck and Keaton. I don't know if they'll share any screen time, but that will be very very interesting to see. Keaton now where he is. I just got Batman and Batman Returns on 4K. Those are two of my favorite superhero movies, and so him
Yeah.
back in the role is going to be really interesting to see an older Batman, what
Yeah.
he's been up to. Another character, you mentioned Michael Shannon's back as Zod. Another
Uh-huh.
actress, Sasha Cally, has been cast as Supergirl,
Oh,
and she has set photos have revealed that her suit is basically the same suit from Man of Steel that Henry Cavill wears.
nice.
So it's the same kind of S emblem, and so I don't know if they're going to tie her in with him or what's going to happen. But I'm just, yeah, like you, very curious about it. I think the only reason it didn't make my list is because DC, I just don't know what's going on. I don't know what this movie is going to be. I have no idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And there's no trailer either for it
there's
yet, right?
no trailers. A little bit of footage that was released at a Comic Con, I think, but it
Yeah.
wasn't a full trailer. It was just a little
Yeah.
tease. So yeah, once we get more footage and we have more understanding of what this movie exactly is, maybe it'll jump up on my list. But as of now, it's not on my list.
And I have a big announcement too.
Oh,
I waited till the very end of this segment to mention, and no
okay.
one else in the world knows this,
Okay.
but I'm announcing today Henry Cavill will be in the Flash.
Oh, really?
I'm the one that
Okay.
knows this, so I
You're the
wanted to
only
release
one.
that.
Wow.
This is the world premiere of that news. I'm
This
just
is
putting two
exciting.
and two together. I mean, Zod is in it.
It makes sense.
I mean, come on. How are you gonna
Yeah.
have that without Superman in it then?
I don't know. I don't know. I think you're right. I think so he's fired, he's hired in Black Adam, and then he's fired again. Now he's been hired again.
What see, yeah, that's why they said, oh, we decided again we don't want you, because they're like, maybe everyone won't see it coming. And then when he is in it, it'll be the 19th time we've changed our mind and everybody will
Right.
be shocked.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's what
So
they should do. Every time Henry Cavill shows up in a movie, announce that he's fired. And then,
yeah.
it just gets everyone talking.
Is that too much to ask? And I wish upon a star though that he's in this movie.
We can all hope. We can all hope and
Yeah.
pray. So all
That's
right,
my
great.
two. Yeah.
That's your number two. My number two is Rebel Moon. Rebel
Yeah.
Moon, like you mentioned, is your number five. I have it higher because Snyder is just a genius. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. He's visually, his storytelling is just on point every time. I've enjoyed all of his films. There's not a single movie. There's ones I like more than others, yes, but I've enjoyed all of them. I own all of them on Blu-ray or 4K now. So I'm just so interested in this because this is, like you said, his pitch to Lucasfilm for the Star Wars movie he wanted to make. He wanted to make, he described it as Seven Samurai in space. So Seven Samurai, for those who don't know, is a classic Akira Kurosawa film from the 50s, all black and white, about seven samurai who have to defend the small town from these bandits. So the small town are being, harassed by these bandits. All their crops are being stolen, all their money, and a couple of them go out to the big town to find warriors that will help defend their city. So they go out and find these kind of motley crew of different types of fighters, and they end up having to defend this village from this big army of bandits. And it's a very intense action movie, especially considering it came out so long ago. The action sequences are really intense. I mean, they're really doing this. This is before CGI, before there was really like professional stunt guys. And I mean, they're doing this stuff on horseback and these sword fights that are just kind of crazy to watch. So I'm a huge fan of that film. Combining that with a sci-fi element, put Zack Snyder in charge. I mean, this is easily one of my most anticipated movies. The cast, like you mentioned, Charlie Hunnam's an actor I really like. Sophia Boutella is in this. Djimon Hounsou, Jenna Malone, Ray Fisher, Carrie Elways, Ed Skrein, Corey Stoll, Ray Porter, who is the physical actor on set for Darkseid in the Justice League movies. So we'll finally get to see him and his face. Like you mentioned, Anthony Hopkins is playing a robot. So that will be interesting to see that. The imagery that he's released, I mean, we don't have a trailer, but we've got some behind the scenes shots. We've got some still images that just are bizarre. I mean, some of these character designs are out there. I mean, they look very alien, very strange, creepy. Some concept art is out there too, which looks great, of these kind of spaceships and all this stuff. It just looks like such a interesting new universe to kind of get lost in. And they are going to do a part two. It's going to be a 2-part film with potential for spinoffs too. They want to do series. And I mean, Netflix obviously wants it to be a huge franchise. So hopefully it does well enough. And they are doing a theatrical release, limited theatrical release. They don't have an exact date. It'll probably be later this year. I'm thinking, November, December probably. But this one is very high on my list because the talent involved, the story idea, the fact that this was going to be a Star Wars movie, so that we're essentially getting Zack Snyder's Star Wars. As a huge Star Wars fan, that just makes me ecstatic. So, Rebel Moon, my number two.
And since you're a big Star Wars guy, aren't you a little bit glad though that this isn't a Star Wars movie, because he doesn't have to stay within that? I like the idea of him just doing what he wants. I think that's when we get the best Zach.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think this could have been a great Star Wars movie, and I think when it comes out, Lucasfilm is probably going to be kicking themselves a little bit, but I am very glad that it is totally going to be 100% his vision on screen.
Yeah.
There's going to be no other involvement of, let's tone this down, or let's, make sure this ties in with that, or that kind of stuff. I think this is the best way to go for a guy like him that has such a clear vision with his movies. This is the best option. All right. Well, now we're moving on to our number ones. This is it. Bert, what is your number one most anticipated movie of 2023?
Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning is my number one that I'm looking forward to.
Awesome.
And what's funny is that I do like all 6 of the films. But I'm actually 2, 4, 6 are my favorite ones.
Okay.
6 I recently picked up on Steelbook.
Nice.
I love it. It's fantastic.
That's great. Cool.
4K. I'm very excited about that. I don't know if you could see that when I held it up.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
And that's to me the best one. I can't name an action movie that's better than this film. And I do tend to prefer more realistic kind of action.
Sure.
If anything, some of the Bond films, a bit of the knock on it is that sometimes they have 1 or 2 stunts that just seem so over the top.
Right.
Whereas these are a little closer to reality and still amazing.
Well, yeah, because he's really doing
that's it. He's really flying the helicopter. I mean, literally, there's no competition for this.
Right.
And then we kind of jump from taking a guess that something's going to be good just based on reputation with Rebel Moon, and this is another example of that. I mean, Christopher McQuarrie. I looked this up. He was either. Let me just read this litany of films. He was either a director or writer on all of these that I'm going to mention, and it's The Usual Suspects, Valkyrie, Jack Reacher, Jack the Giant Slayer, Edge of Tomorrow, Mission Impossible 5, Mission Impossible Fallout, Top Gun Maverick, a few people have heard of. Then you got Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2 he's doing. And he's already slated to be the director on this Tom Cruise film where he's going to space. I'm sure you've heard about this.
Okay. Yes.
Literally going, probably the upper atmosphere.
Sure.
I don't know if he's going up to the International Space Station, or what, how exactly that's going to go. But McQuarrie's directing that as well.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, very high expectations.
Yeah.
And again, this is the odd number of Mission Impossible films, but I still think it'll be. I think it's one of those things that Cruise is at the point where he's not going to make something unless it's really, really vetted. And then on top of that, you got a guy that works harder than anybody in the business, and he's doing all his own stunts. So I'd be shocked if it's not in my top 5 at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'll echo all that. Very, very good talent involved there, and a great franchise that hasn't failed us yet. So we'll just have to hold tight until July and get to see it. Hopefully, I get to see this one in IMAX because I'm sure they're shooting a lot of it in IMAX like they did with Fallout. So
yeah.
All right, folks, we are on to my number one most anticipated movie of 2023. That is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh yeah.
So we've talked about Indiana Jones so many times here. My number one favorite movie of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Harrison Ford, my favorite actor of all time. And the only thing we're missing is Spielberg. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. But he got a great replacement. He got James Mangold, who's a director I really like. He did Ford v Ferrari, which I mentioned earlier. He did Logan, Night and Day.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, so many great movies. So he picked the right replacement. Spielberg's still producing, still had a hand, I think, in writing some of the script, although Mangold kind of rewrote a bunch of it when he came on board. But look, I mean, between Harrison Ford and James Mangold, you've got another cast of just great actors and actresses: Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Mads Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook, Antonio Banderas. We've got John Rhys Davies coming back as well. So just a great cast. That trailer they released about a month ago really got me excited because it really looks like it's recapturing the spirit of the originals.
Right.
It looks like it's back in that same vein of just fun action adventure, treasure
Mhm.
hunting, booby traps, all that kind of fun stuff that we associate with Indiana Jones. Um, these movies just capture my imagination. They make me excited to be a film fan. This is kind of sums up what movies are all about. Just great storytelling, great characters, great themes, escapism. That's what these movies are all about. And so, curious to see what the Dial of Destiny is. We don't really know much about this MacGuffin. We know that there are going to be flashbacks to a younger Indy, which just blew me away in the trailer when they showed a young Harrison Ford. Looked like footage they found from the original movies. I was blown away. So
Oh, is that
just
what the
curious to
footage is
see.
from?
I'm sorry.
That's what the footage is from.
No, no, this is all new footage that is
Oh, is
all
it? So it's
it's
de-aged.
de-aged. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's
okay,
all computer
yeah,
generated
yeah.
effects,
That's
which
good.
has just gotten better and better over the years. So,
Right, right.
yeah,
Nice.
very
I like it when they
excited.
do that.
Yeah, very excited to see this, his final film. So in the Indiana Jones franchise, he's 80 years old, so
Yeah,
that's not much of a surprise. But very excited to see what ends up happening here with this character, how they send him off. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see on June 30th, 2023, the final adventure of Indiana Jones. So that is my number one most anticipated movie of the year.
that's a good one. And the only reason I didn't put it on mine is because I knew it would probably come up,
Right.
if not be number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is going to be a great family film, I think, and
Yeah.
I possibly will see it in the theater as well. And
Awesome.
thank goodness we get one more. And
Right.
part 5 isn't Shia LaBeouf taking over and
Right. Exactly.
it's not like
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf, obviously, but
I do too.
yeah, this should be a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah,
It
I'm
should.
glad to see it.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, look, folks, thank you for joining us on this episode. All these movies that we're discussing are going to end up being podcasts that we do, podcasts about these movies. So be on the lookout for those. Indiana Jones, when that comes out, I want to do a whole Indiana Jones in review all 4 other movies and review the new one. Mission Impossible, we'll do the same thing with Guardians, so look out for all these videos coming this year. It should be a great year for the podcast. We've grown a lot this year. We're almost at 150 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is great. I'd like to see that grow. And, like I said, we're on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So be sure to check us out there. I'll leave our Letterboxd accounts as well, both for Bert and myself. So you can follow us there and kind of see what we're watching. I've been putting out a new video series called Real Quick Reviews. Basically, after I watch a movie every night, me and my wife watch a movie almost every night. So as soon as the movie's over, I'll turn on the camera and give you my quick thoughts on it. Usually these are, under 5 minutes, real quick reviews. So that's a new video series, a playlist that you can check out on the channel. We'll be doing all kinds of physical media stuff too, and my collection continues to grow. Got a lot of 4Ks for Christmas, and I had some store credit on Amazon, so I ended up getting a bunch more. I'm doing a video on that very soon, so make sure you watch that one on the channel. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on at the channel this year, and I think it's going to be a really good year. Thanks for joining me, Bert. I'm always glad to have you. Looking forward to another fun year of movie watching.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great year.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Again, be sure to give us that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, hit the bell so you get notified of all the videos that we release here at The Real World. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.